If you type baby incubators 1900s into a search, the first results often show the famous Coney Island displays. But there's more to this story. In the late 1800s, physician Martin Coney began demonstrating the efficacy of infant incubators across the United States and Europe. These devices were exhibited everywhere. Hardly revolutionary technology, yet they appeared suddenly and spread rapidly. Then came the World's Fairs. Premature infants were presented as sideshow attractions. Visitors could even pay to adopt or purchase them. Today, such a spectacle would provoke immediate outrage. Yet these babies were nearly always orphans or foundlings. Incubator exhibits appeared at major expositions: Buffalo, New York, the Trans-Mississippi Enter-Tarantara exhibition in Omaha, Nebraska, Chicago, Jacksonville, Florida, and many others. They were also prominently featured at the Paris World's Fair, where Martin Coney maintained his own exhibit. Those postcards may have been developed in France, but the movies and images were not promoting one single event. This was a worldwide event, unfolding across that era. That's why they were funded, to create the films and the postcards. People around the globe were being advertised these baby incubators. Some suggest it was a factory, multiple women giving birth, but that comes with problems, and they still operate versions of this today. It's not insane, but it's unhygienic, inconsistent. For real control, for cleanliness, you need total environmental dominance. It seems multiple countries are involved, even now. And even if that's the explanation, it's still horrifying, still strange, that this remains so unknown. All they leave us are occult symbols to decode. Well, I think there's even more to this story than just a literal sex factory. It's interesting because this subject has truly captured the collective mind. Storks 2016 is an animated hybrid film with a reported budget around $70 million. It centers on storks who once delivered babies as their sacred duty, their passion, their very purpose. From the start, the film depicts a vast postal force with strict rules. No bonds with the infants. Treat them only as packages. The first deliveries were literal packages from the service's inception. The filmmakers and writers clearly embed symbolism tied to themes we've discussed. As the service modernized, baby delivery became myth. Humans laugh at the idea, yet they say, "Oh, sweetie, storks don't deliver babies anymore, but they used to a long time ago." Not ridiculous, simply discontinued. The company, Corner Store, parodies Amazon, the modern delivery giant, released in 2016. The protagonist is Junior, a comedic stork obsessed with climbing the corporate ladder, following the system blindly for illusory success. The boss wants rid of an orphan girl, Tulip, a human raised by storks. No accident introducing an orphan. Tulip's name evokes the tulip flower, symbol of wealth, prosperity, and royalty, especially red tulips, matching her hair color. From the Buffalo News, February 28, 1897, quote, "Harvard men died, made merry around the banquet table at the Satin Club. A Harvard flag, a huge banner of the brightest crimson with the university's initial letter of corresponding size, as white as the driven snow, in the center, bloated from the staff of the Satin Club yesterday, and it was significant of the banquet of the Harvard Alumni Association of Western New York." Crimson, the color that once stirred Harvard men to ecstasies of affection for their alma mater, was the sole decoration. Around 100 alumni gathered at a long table spanning the dining room. The scene was as elegant as good taste could devise. The flag draped near the head of the table, a bank of crimson flowers at its center, flanked by the university letter formed in perfect rows of red tulips. So, for their alma mater ceremony, they dined surrounded by decorative red tulips. Remember, we are speaking of symbols. It is only when we learn to read these symbols that the great veil begins to lift. It goes deeper. A search for red tulip fertility reveals companies using the symbol to advertise family growth through egg donors, specific phenotypes selectable. Why the tulip? It represents more than a flower, the sex organs themselves, as with the Cabbage postcards. Fertility, children, specifically orphan children, lost bloodlines. During the Dutch Golden Age came Tulip Mania, a mainstream historical event. People paid extraordinary prices for flowers and bulbs. Excuses abound, but tulips and cabbages were both inflated. Cabbage fever, random or coded? After liberation from Spanish rule in 1581, the Dutch grew tulips around palaces. The wealthy became obsessed. An economic bubble, early speculative inflation, or reference to another product. Quote, "It is agreed that mania is a psychopathological disorder. Therefore, whoever speaks of tulip mania means the people who buy fleshy tulip bulbs have acted madly and irrationally." But they literally call these people insane for spending so much on tulips, cabbages, and carrots. I think there's a big joke at play here. Not only is this the origin of our money, but look at how they promoted this stuff. It's just like the postcards, satirical cartoons, but these are even worse. Many of these satirical prints contain cabbages, showing the intimate relationship between tulips and cabbages. In one, Aesop pointed out a group of monkeys, the symbol for foolishness, eating cabbage while wolves chased innocent sheep. The title page on one play showed a satyr or Pan drawing back a curtain on a scene crammed with a banner that read, "The world Volcool, the world full of cabbage." Beneath the banner is a crowd clamoring for pieces of paper on which were written the names of types of cabbages, including worthless cabbage, cowardly cabbage, and crazy cabbage. Another play referred to the company of Cabbage. Many of these plays made references to carrot shares and cabbage selling. It's obvious that these vegetables were symbols for something else. Carrots, cabbages, and tulips can be seen in many of these early cartoons. In one, they're selling these tulips in a fool's cap. All of these early cartoons, which are the inspiration for later postcards, are complete with the symbolism of dark folly, the fool's cap, or a Phrygian hat. These tulips would be sold for over £8,000 when one found them to be snow white and beautifully striped. Let's take a look at one cartoon that is clearly Freemasonic symbolism. It's called Harlequin's Actionist, a cartoon from de Groot Tafereel de Roy's Shield, 1720, and this is in the British Library. You have two harlequins, or jokers, or mimes, that are on a stage opening a veil. At the top, you can see they're selling cabbages and carrots. But what's behind the veil? We see at the top that there is an owl, representing the cult of Minerva, and we see the Freemasonic compass, or corner right angle. Now this isn't no ordinary depiction, and I love how they label this as just a satirical cartoon. I mean, what kind of sick people make stuff like this? Why are they inserting all sorts of things inside of their butts? And it gets worse. So this cartoon is a part of a series, and these really are the only images or depictions we have of this 1720 crash. Which again, you really think they were just selling cabbage? Look at the symbols. Look at what they left us with. We will break this down in another video, but real quick, and then we'll get back to the story's movie. Look at some of these images. There's no doubt that they were created by elites. Look at all the heraldry and royal symbols. But furthermore, there's mockery at play. There are too many images to go over right now, but there is one where they're introducing the book, and you can see Lady Liberty, along with what seems to be a AIG, with a baby angel holding a shield with two keys. The lady with the pillar is also holding a top hat, while the face of the person is being swapped, identity swap. And then we see Medusa, or a lady with a snake, that is dying, and under her left arm is the bottom of a barrel, or the hive, in which people, or babies, are coming out, and they're throwing cabbages. They're throwing these cabbages into another scene, where there's a devil and a crowd throwing a person into a flame, or what would seem to be a sacrifice. These are the recent engravings from the early 1700s. and it also connects with other famous artists from England, but we'll discuss that in the next video. Essentially, they were using tulips and cabbage symbolism way before the 1800s, and it seems they use it as a means to promote some kind of secret symbolism under the guise of satirical cartoons. This is just way too weird. I mean, I couldn't make this up. Like, there's this one where they're literally trying to cut out the third eye and insert these new economic systems literally into our rears, as if they're trying to forcibly manipulate our new forms. Well, that's a movie. So yeah, there's this deep symbolism behind tulips and couches, and the writers of this film seem to be fully aware of it. So the store has to fire this orphan named Tulip, but it's her birthday, and she's kind of cool, so the store doesn't want to fire her because he feels bad for her. He's not like his boss who gets off on hurting others. So the store comes up with an idea. Let's put her in the old letter room, because no one sends in letters for babies anymore. You can even tell that this is an older building or something, and different from the main corner store building, which really is just a large cargo container or a trailer. Well, long story short, the orphan gets tired of being in the room, basically goes insane, and she eventually gets a letter from another character in the film, a child with the last name Gardner, whose parents are real estate agents. The boy is so lonely and desperately wants a little brother, so he hears about the Storks and writes them a letter, the first letter in ages. So finally, the orphan gets a letter, and she feels like she has a duty to be the manager of this new letter room. So she takes this letter to that old abandoned building, but the Stork character tries to stop her from doing anything else, because he lied to the big boss that he fired her already. Basically, by accident, the Stork and orphan were fighting over the letter, and it enters this machine. This triggers the machine to start working, and it's revealed that the entire room is part of the literal baby factory. It's capable of producing billions of babies. Towards the end of the film, it's shown that this is actually an ancient castle, separated from the corner store. Think about it. Cornstalk, Freemasons. Why use Amazon? Is it a reference to Amazon women? Well, the cornerstone in Freemasonry is the basis upon which anything is founded. Hence, orphans, tulips, and foundlings. There's also a part where they lose the baby to some wolves, which made me think of the old stories of children being raised by wolves, famous from Roman mythology. The Stork boss even tried to cover up this information in the movie. They didn't want people to know that they were producing babies again, because then their stocks would plummet. So essentially, a castle with an ancient advanced AI baby factory machine, kind of like Noah's Ark, was being used by the state, and these Storks were the postal workers designed to deliver them. But then over time, corporate evolution made this machine irrelevant, and so they no longer needed the Storks. Also, they never really mentioned whether this world has sexual intercourse or not. They never have the birds and the bees conversation. Why do we even call it that? In the Netflix film, I Am Mother, it's literally a repopulation center. Clones raised to rebuild civilization after catastrophe. The primary crop in the surrounding land is corn, another fertility symbol, kernels resembling honeycombs. This echoes Children of the Corn, a society of children ruled by a demon. Our relationship with storks is far older than Cabbage Patch Kids or 1900s postcards. More on that later. For now, baby farming. In the Victorian age, baby farming referred to women running orphan homes who, unable to support the infants, killed them. Horrifying accounts exist in many books. It occurred worldwide. I believe this is a cover story for something deeper. Advertisements for baby farms appear from the 1860s, harder to find now. One article is titled, "Wolves and Women's Calling." If this was childcare in the 19th century, why trust mainstream sources? It's our task to question origins and beginnings. Even Vedic literature references hybrid beings and genetic manipulation. Temples show carvings of hybrid experiments, explaining medieval depictions of strange creatures. Were they real? Philosophers and ancient historians treated them as fact, monstrous races in early Christian writings. The history of test tube babies is obscure. First, women given fertility drugs to produce extra eggs. Matured eggs retrieved via ultrasound-guided needle. Sperm and egg placed in a petri dish. Some fertilize, becoming embryos. Embryos develop under controlled conditions. Today, test tube baby is dismissed as media sensationalism, but the term is older. Embryos transferred to uteros or surrogate. Attempts were made in the past. Earliest reference, American Guardian newspaper, January 4th, 1929. Chemists will be the only daddies someday, is the prediction. Bosses will order employees by certain plans and specifications, Britain believes. Test tube babies would be much like nature's own. This is a theory advanced by H.G. Rhodes, General Secretary of the British Association of Scientists. He believes there will be little difference between the man born of woman and the man compounded in the test tube. We're just on the threshold of the discoveries chemists are making, Rhodes said. We have almost finished with analysis. We are passing on to synthesis, the building up and making of new and valuable products out of the meaner ones. The speculation is therefore almost forced upon us that in time we will be able to create living material. Professor Loeb years ago in an American university announced that he had succeeded in artificially fertilizing the eggs of the sea urchin. That was an enormous step forward. We know that man, the most highly complicated of all living things, is after all only a collection of cells. We know that protoplasm, that wonderful substance which is the very basis of what we call living things, is made up of carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. We know the way the atoms are arranged. Someday, in a laboratory, some chemist may accomplish the union of these atoms in the same way. He will then have created protoplasm, thus causing life to manifest itself. Perhaps it will not end there. Something like man, having produced protoplasm in a chemical laboratory, may discover some process now unknown to us, by which we can incubate and nurse this substance so as to produce even more complicated forms of life. Finally, we may produce a living, moving being, something like ourselves. This may sound like a wild dream, but if you look back over the history of the last years and see what science has done, you may not be so skeptical. Ancient men of science simply collected facts. Modern men of science take these facts, theorize about the phenomena, prove their theories, and apply them to new inventions. The dreams of ancients are made to come true by the moderns. Centuries ago, men dreamed of flying, the wireless telegraph, the telephone, the movies, and the talkie. All the things that we consider commonplace would have seemed like black magic to the ancients. What we today dream of may happen in biochemical laboratories, maybe in 500 or 1,000 years, be accomplished fact. Of course, they aren't going to tell you that they had already discovered this. That's why this is propaganda. They're programming us to believe in science fiction as if this is some faraway, distant future. And the reality is, they were experimenting with this in the 1700s. They just had a different name. The article even continues and explains what the society in the future would do with these synthetic humans. Quote, to do dirty work. Suppose then it were possible, in 1,000 years from now, for a chemist to produce synthetic living things. They could be set to do a workday labor of the world, thus setting free those human beings naturally begotten to undertake further conquest of knowledge. So right there, that's a Freemason reference. They continue. Would the laboratory, creative beings be men like ourselves? Who knows? Probably not. But they would be something approaching us in structure. It is improbable that they would be able to think like us. When you talk about thinking, you get into the metaphysical. The physicians differ among themselves as to what thinking is and whether we really think at all. I'm not sure what that's all about, but this is the earliest reference that I can find to test tube babies. And it's obvious that this is not a new subject. In Levinus Vincent's Cabinet of Curiosities, Is this an early glimpse of a cloning center? Vincent, one of the Dutch Republic's most influential designers and merchants, caught in the grip of the 1720 bubble. Tulip Mania. Member of the Royal Society, his book speaks of small animals and artificialia, creations not of nature but of man. No mention of genetics, no trace of science as we know it. So what is this place? A bizarre collection, yet whoever assembled it understood symbolism deeply. Wonder to real, or nature brims with hidden occult signs, now starkly visible. He describes curious beings, sirens, half-woman, half-bird predators, luring sailors to devour them, sea creatures with maiden torsos and fishtails, snakes and dragons. Aldravandi divides them, legless serpents and massive, footed dragons. Serpentes, from serpo, to crawl, any creature that drags low along the earth. Sea hydra. Aristotle and Pliny record monsters 200 feet long, attacking ships, arching above the waves so vessels pass beneath. Amadites, horned viper, broader head, sharp wart-like spike. Aldravandi concludes its shifting forms mark it as myth, invented. This goes deeper into the subject, but to explore it we must dive into occult symbolism. We'll leave that for another video. Hope you enjoyed that. Let us know if you have research to share. Let's keep asking questions. All we can hope is that one day our minds will see beyond the veil. Thank you for watching. See you soon in the next chapter of this journey.